Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today for Steve Talks 2. And my second guest is Tori from ToriTalks. Welcome, Tori. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
Oh yeah, I was super excited when I got your Twitter message. I was like, "Oh my gosh, finally! It'll be so much fun to just have a chat with Steve." I wasn't gonna
Yeah,
say no to that.
cool. Yeah, I know we talked after the Friday conversation. I said I'd really like to pick your brain more, and then I you know how it is. Like you just things get backed up. And you're like,
Oh yeah,
I can months out. Yeah, it's kind of wild. But
yep,
speaking of months out and planning and all the things we have committed to, just launched a readathon.
yeah. Literally about 20 minutes ago. So the Keymark Discord, I know quite a few people in our community are in there. And if you're not, I can get you a link. The Keymark Discord is a big SFF community, and we're doing a readathon in April called TBR Blitz.
Hmm.
And like so many people talk about their TBRs constantly about how there's so, I mean, all of us have, we'll be 187 before we actually finish reading all the books on our TBRs. So the whole point of this readathon is to take off some of the books off of that stack and to finish up some books we already own. So the prompts are super, super easy to, match to different things on your TBR, and it's going to be a fun time. So I'm one of the captains. So if anybody is watching and wants to join, let me know and sign up for my team.
Yes. So, what's the name of your team
My
on
team is the Beanie Barbarians. Yep.
Dice?
Yep.
Awesome.
So yeah, when on the sign up form, there's a drop down menu and you can choose if there's a specific booktuber that you want to have as your captain.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean you're going to be in good hands either way, but
Yeah, it can't really go wrong, but it's
no,
nice. Yeah.
yeah.
So, how do the prompts work? Is there how do you earn points, or what's that system like?
So there's a total. You can earn 15 points total, and you choose 5 of the 10 main prompts, and it's like something that was recommended to you by a friend, something that's been on your TBR for over a year, continue a series, because how many of us like taste test the first book and then move on to other things. The intimidating 500-page plus
Hmm.
chonkers, something outside your comfort zone, oldest publication date, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different ones that you can kind of mix and match. And then there's 5 bonus points that you can earn. That's indie author, debut novel, second book in a series,
Hmm.
etc. And then you get an extra point for every review you write of the books that you read. So you can
Oh,
earn a
nice.
total of 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, easy,
Yeah.
easy prompts.
Yeah. And Anita's here.
Hey, Anita.
Yeah. And easiest prompts ever. There is a
Yep.
choice.
That's why we wanted to give everybody 10 and you choose 5, because that way it's even easier to fit it to what's already on the stack beside your bed. Because otherwise, you know, it's it's supposed to make it easy for you to read your TBR books.
Yeah, we were talking before we went live about, I'm trying to work on my TBR from last year. I think I added a couple, but a lot of it was from last year,
A
and it's
couple.
hard. Yeah, a couple,
Yeah,
but it's hard to keep up. So it's a good way to get books that we already have,
exactly.
read.
Yeah, and I'm committing to trying a month-long book buying ban in April as well. So I'm not only reading books on my TBR, but I'm also not bringing any new ones.
Hmm.
So that's the goal.
So does that count as arc? Do arcs count too
Mhm.
on that? Oh wow, that's
Mhm.
you're committed.
Mhm. I mean, I'm as long as I'm not buying any of them. So like if I get sent something, that's obviously different, but I'm not spending any money on new books because I have plenty.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It's hard to keep up sometimes.
yeah, for sure. Excuse my hooligans in the background.
I can't hear any. I can't hear them at all.
Okay,
So
good.
you're
If you
good.
hear yelling and thundering like elephants, that's my children.
If you hear snorting and barking, that's my dog.
Okay, good to
We're
know.
good. Yeah,
Fair trade.
yeah, yeah. That's a tough one, Tori. Yeah,
Hmm.
the bookbind ban.
It is.
What's something that when I first started YouTube, I had an author reach out and say, "Hey, I'd really like for you to read my book," and tell me. I was like, "Wow, that's
Hmm.
it's like blew my mind. Like someone wants to know what I think about a book.
Right?
Hell yeah, I'll read it."
Yep.
So I did that for a few times, and and of course, there's lots of people who want to get their books out and they want people to read them. So of course, I get it. But we can only read so fast.
Mhm.
So how do you handle that? How do you handle arcs?
So I'm at this point, I've kind of put a mostly full stop on arcs unless it's, a very close friend that's, wants me to skim through it. Um, because I'm also writing.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that's the hard part is I don't have time to commit to deadlines when I'm also trying to write my own book. But what I typically do is I always thank them for reaching out to me because it does take a lot of, cojones to reach out to
Yeah.
somebody. And and I congratulate them for writing a book because that's a huge accomplishment. And then I usually direct them to one of the Discord communities for indie published authors and just say, hey, I don't have time right now, but there's a lot of great people on Twitter. There's a lot of great people on these Discords that you can go join. It's a really, supportive community. So I try to leave them with something like a next direction after me so that it's not just a dead end.
That's really good. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good thing to do, just so they don't feel like they totally wasted their time.
Right, exactly. And,
Yeah.
even if I'm not a good fit for the book too, I will say, hey, you know, pitch this in this Discord because I think you're going to find some people that are really interested in reading it.
Hmm. That's kind of where I am too. Is unless I have a personal relationship with someone that
Right.
like I've been looking forward to it, or we've talked about it before. I hate to, even though I always tell them like I it sounds really interesting. It sounds really, like I'd really like it, but I would hate to get a copy and then not have a review out in a
Right.
reasonable amount of time. And even though they say, well, don't worry about it, just when you can get to it,
We put
it's
that pressure
still,
on.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And
Absolutely.
it's still in the back of my head, like I have to read this book and I have to get this done. And they're counting on me, and I have this pressure I put on
The
myself.
guilt.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I know it's
Absolutely.
hard. Like you said, it takes a lot of courage to reach out to people.
Yeah, that is something that I try to encourage people when authors ask me how to reach out to reviewers too. Um, is really focusing on relationships within the
Mhm.
community is a huge deal because I'm way more likely to, if I've taught, like if you wrote a book and you're like, hey, Tori, will you look at my book? I'm going to be way more likely to say, hey, let me take a look at it than if it's somebody that I've never talked to and it's a cold call kind of thing. And I think just being present in the community and building those relationships, let people see you and who you are and be part of the conversations, like that will go a long way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. For as much as I dislike Twitter for certain things, and I think we probably both agree on the things we dislike about Twitter. But for all that, I think there's a great community there
oh
of really
yeah.
wonderful people.
Yeah. Well, and you're a forum. There they
There they are. Yeah.
are. Because you have a forum,
Mhm.
which like totally, like I'm very confused by forums. So I'm in your forum. I don't know how to
Yeah.
use it, but I'm in there.
That's all that matters, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool because there's some really great pockets
Mhm.
of community, and it's funny because I was really hesitant to get on Twitter because it's Twitter
Yeah.
and everybody, it's very Twitter's the scary one. Thank you, dear. And I have to say, yeah, Twitter can be incredibly um negative in a lot of
Mhm.
most areas, I would say, but I think the book community on Twitter, and especially the part that we're in, is just so incredibly supportive and welcoming and generous and nice and just fun to talk to.
Yeah, just
So
pleasant people.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it surprised me because there's lots of pockets and they
Mhm.
all seem to have something positive about them. Like they're all full of people, and we all kind of encompass several of them, but
Yeah,
um
kind of
and it's
overlap.
yeah, so it surprised me how positive it is.
Yeah, it really is. And it's always a fun, I always enjoy waking up in the morning and see, all right, what's everybody up to on Twitter today?
And
Hey Pete,
partners with Pete. Hey Pete, thanks for coming
join
by.
my team, Pete.
Yeah, yeah, you have to recruit.
I have
Uh,
been, yeah.
yeah. I'm getting back to Twitter after 2 year hiatus just for book Twitter, but
Mhm.
community is very supportive, and I'm glad to meet so many good people.
Yep.
Definitely, yeah. There's lots of great people, and it does take a little bit of effort to
Mhm.
kind of have your bubble, but
Yeah.
once you kind of get a hang of it and kind of know how to kind of what to engage with, and it makes it easier.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it's nice when you kind of start and you meet, you have a couple of friends on there, and then you just kind of slowly start expanding the bubble a little bit bigger.
And it is almost an evolution, right? Because the algorithm changes. So one
Yeah.
day you might have your feed full of stuff you want, and then the next day it's full of stuff you don't want. So
Right.
it's a process sometimes.
One day at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of arcs and people we have relationships with, our friend
Hi,
Joelle is
Joelle.
here. Yeah. It's a bit late for me, so can't stay long this time. Well, thank you for coming by, and thank you for the arc, because
Yeah.
I've been bothering Joelle for like months. Do not forget about me, Joelle.
I want this book. Yeah, I'm excited to read it. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, I got that in my inbox this morning. I was so excited.
Everybody put Seeds of War on your Goodreads TBR.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though I'm not supposed to be encouraging people to add books to their TBR this month.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's been long. Twitter may have its perks, but you can't deny its downfall of humanity.
In a lot of spaces, I would agree with that. I'd say the
Yeah.
book community is one of the last bastions of positivity.
Yeah, it is. It does take some effort, and
Mhm.
I'm sure there's other pockets of that kind of thing going on, but
Yeah.
they're hard. Sometimes they're not easy to find, but
Yeah.
the book community is something else for sure.
Yep. I'm sure it's kind of those niche pockets of the smaller communities that are kind of gathered around a common interest. That's probably where you're going to see a lot of more of the positivity, I would guess.
Mhm. And again, with book releases coming up, Mr.
Yeah,
Philip
Way of a
Chase.
Dan.
Yes.
Also add that to your Goodreads TBR. I'm not starting my TBR Blitz month very good, but
That's okay. It's all fun. It's all good stuff. Hope you're doing well, Philip. I am trying to get through Midnight Tides. I might need your help. I might need your help.
That's the one that I haven't read yet. I've read up through House of Chains. I haven't read Midnight Tides yet.
Yeah, we're discussing that here in a few weeks. So.
Okay. So would you say that one's been the hardest one so far?
I think for me, what was that? For me, the hardest one was Memories of Ice.
Okay.
And it seems like a lot of people say it was their favorite, but for me, it was the hardest one to engage with. And I think it was just because my mindset at the time, it just, things just don't line up sometimes. And I think that was part of it.
Yeah. So are you more of a mood reader? Like when you get to a book and you're like, I just am not feeling it right now. Do you power through?
No, I power through.
Wow.
Well, mostly because, let me backtrack. Mostly it's because I have planned meetups or discussions. So I power through. But if it's just this looks interesting, and then I don't like it, then I'll say, okay, this isn't for me, and I'll throw in the towel.
So you do DNF?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's your like non-negotiables? Like, nope, this is something that I get to this kind of a thing in a book, and I'm just, nope, not for me.
That's a really good question. You're trying the tables on me here.
Sorry. Old habits die hard.
No, yeah, it's just a habit. For me, it's probably, I know this is an unpopular opinion, but I don't like coming of age.
Okay. That's
so if
fair.
it's a coming of age, well, not all the time. It depends on the format. Because I would say maybe even something like The Grace of Kings can be considered coming of age, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really liked it. So
that's multi-POV, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are times when I really like it, but it has to be a certain format.
Sure.
But either that, or if I just don't engage with the story, if I just don't connect with it, or I feel like it's going away that I can, I can just tell it's just not like the writing style, or I just can't get a flow with it, then I'll say, okay, well, maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think, again, like there are some tropes that I really don't jive with, but if it's done really well, I may still enjoy the story. Chosen One is I'm very picky with Chosen One themes, because usually what that means is that the character has a lot of plot armor. And that's something I hate. Like, I want to be afraid that this character could die at any moment, and or I want to feel that tension, and even if it's not a death, like what could happen or what. And when you have a chosen one with that level of plot or armor, it kind of loses the tension of the story to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say that one's a big one. Also, just a lot of gratuitous anything. Like, if it's just there for shock value, I'm like, tell me a story, and if really dark things happen, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But don't just, do it for shock value.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but anything now with kids, I mean, since I became a parent, it's like anything with kids, I just can't. I just can't.
Yeah,
Movies,
it's hard.
Books, I just can't. It's just not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. How old is yours?
16 and 13.
Okay. So you've got teenagers. How's that going?
They're actually, I'm pretty lucky. They're pretty calm.
Nice.
So yeah, they're okay.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
10, 7, and 5.
Oh wow, you're busy.
So, yes, it is a loud and very busy house. I have colored pages stuck to every wall.
How do you find the time to do everything?
I make the time, honestly. I think, I've worked really hard in the last 5 to 10 years about priorities, and writing is something that is just in my bones. Like, I don't think I could ever get to a point where I stop. I can't stop writing. So it's just one of those things where I make the time for it, and it's part my kids have gotten used to, yep, mom's sitting in her chair with her laptop, and they can still come to me and ask me questions if they need me, but they know that, that's something that I do. And I think it's important for kids to see us also pursuing work and dreams and, things that we love. So to me, I don't feel guilty. I work really hard not to feel guilty, because I'd be lying if I said I never felt guilty, or like, oh my gosh, I should be doing laundry, or playing with my kids. But it's important to have that balance, I think.
I think so. I think it's important to have that, and for them to see you, like you said, for them to see you pursuing your dreams, that it encourages them to do the same.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's all 3 of my kids have started their own books already, and
nice.
My 5-year-old hers is Paw Patrol Saves the Tigers. So she's already well on her way.
Very nice. Very nice.
She's even made cover art. It's very cute.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Is it something that you kind of help them with, or do they ask you for help? And
yep. Typically it's I put myself down as the ghostwriter, because she dictates and I write. So yeah. So it's something sometimes at night for bedtime as a calming, sometimes we read to our kids every night, obviously, but we also sometimes will do, hey, let's sit down and do a page of your book together, because it's very calming and it engages their minds, and something we can sit still and do.
Yeah, that's another thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So
let's all sit still for a few minutes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And when my 10-year-old's better about that, but he's more analytical and intellectual kind of brain anyway. And then my daughters are just complete whirlwinds at 7 and 5 still. So yeah.
Those are fun ages, though.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people say that they're fun when they're tiny, but I liked them when they were mobile. They're a lot more interesting when they're mobile and can
They're
talk.
easier when they're little, because it's like either they need sleep or a diaper change or food, and that's it.
One of the 3. Which one is it?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Philip, my favorite character, appears in Midnight Tides. Yes, I think I can probably guess, but maybe not.
I've been hearing from a lot of people that I'm going to really like a couple of the characters in Midnight Tides, so I'm excited about it.
It's funny how it can go from like the serious story that gets really dark, and then it goes to this humor.
Yeah.
And it all really works.
It's such a good balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people think Malazan is really intimidating, which it is to some degree. I mean, I'd be lying if I wasn't like, hey, that's nothing intimidating about that. But I think I disagree with the people that say that you have to read it twice or that you have
Hmm.
to, have a PhD to read it, you know, just because I don't know. I read Gardens of the Moon 10 years ago, and I was a college kid and I didn't know anything. And it was like one of the first epic fantasy books I picked up. And I had no idea what was going on, but I still loved it. Like, there's a lot of things in it that I think translate really well, even if you're not really digging deep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. When I read Gardens of the Moon, I didn't really know what was happening. Well, I don't think you're supposed to know.
mm-hmm.
But the farther I get, the more I really appreciate that book. Like
Yeah.
I really think back on it and sit and just think, wow, that's such a great book. And I haven't read it again. I just, just have that appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And thank you, Daniel. Yeah, it is. It is
Ah,
understanding. Yeah, most of the time.
cool.
Yeah,
It's on my TBR.
very good. Very
Yeah,
good.
I'm excited to read it. Ken's such a
Alicia,
cool guy too. I've seen a lot of
oh,
interviews with him, and he's really cool.
he blows my mind every time.
Yeah.
He's another another level.
Yep.
Yeah. Alicia, thanks for coming by. Glad you can make it. Yeah, very rare for modern fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
What and Eric, my tolerance for orphaned farm boy chosen ones is pretty thin.
Yep. Same.
Yeah. What do you like writing in? What perspective?
So the one that I'm writing right now, and Phased is also in third person limited. But it's funny because when I was much younger, I naturally gravitated toward third omniscient. And I don't know, at some point I may revisit that because I'm reading Shogun right now by James Clavell, and that's in third omniscient. And I really like the 360-ness of that and how many nuances you can get in the conversations and the by kind of head hopping a little bit. You have to be very careful with it, obviously, because it can get very confusing very quickly. But yeah, I would like to try third omniscient at some point, I think. For my very first epic debut, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, I think it would be fun to try. Kudos to the authors that can do it well, because it's tough.
Kudos to any author they can do it, because it's to work so hard on something and spend so much time on it and then put it out there for everyone to just leave you. I'd be terrified. I don't know how
it never gets easier. Yeah, it's kind of a weird mixture of terror and excitement, and it's a very strange combination of equal parts of those two things. And Phased has been out for 2 years now, and Andrew Wizard just read it this week, and I was biting my fingernails the whole time. Like, it never gets easier because you're always like, you just want them to like it so much, Yeah. So yeah, it's super. It is also fun to see people fall in love with your characters. I would say that's my favorite part, when people come back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I cried." Yes.
Got him.
So, yep, nice little trophy in the in the glass cabinet.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing people resonate with something that you've written is worth all of the teeth chattering and for sure.
I'd say.
Yeah.
When
for sure.
when did you decide to write your book? Well, when did Phased start? When did you start writing it?
I started writing Phased, I think, in August of 2019, and then published in November of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you intend to publish it, or did you just start writing and then it just evolved?
Yeah, it was well, sort of. So I knew that I wanted to get back into writing and publish again, and I didn't know, I hadn't really landed on a story idea that I was ready to kind of put out there. And then Phased was actually a National Novel Writing Month project. So I kind of started outlining it and working on it a little bit. And then in November of 2019, I wrote, over half of it. And it actually started as kind of the very first idea started as kind of a joke because I grew up in the Twilight era and was just like, so done. I'm so like I was so done even as a teenager with all of my girlfriends who were Edward Cullen this and that and the other thing. And I always was really upset at how like werewolves are so cool. I've always thought werewolves are such a cool concept and there's so much lore about them. And I was really upset that whenever I talked about werewolves, people immediately went back to, oh, Twilight werewolf. And no, no, those are not werewolves. They're shapeshifters. It's
No.
not the same
Yeah.
thing. Sorry, nerd glasses. But it started, I was like, you know what? I want to write a werewolf book and I want it to be deep and have really heavy themes and actually explore like what would this be like if you had a condition like this in a human society. And of course there'd be an organization that would have to be making sure everyone's safe.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, so it started out as that, and I fell in love with it as I started writing it, and it really started getting more and more personal as I got into it. And I started trauma therapy around the same time I was writing it. And so there's a lot of bits of phase that were literally me working through my own things in personal life that I was able to express and kind of have my own little therapy in the book, which was cool. And yeah, I love the characters so much. They're very near and dear. So it's a very different flavor than my fantasy book, but I love them to bits and pieces. So
Did that make it more difficult for you to put it out knowing that you had put so much of yourself into it? What did that heighten your
Yeah, I mean, it's still fictitious, obviously, but anybody who knows me reading it is going to draw conclusions, I'm sure. And so like it was really funny, and I don't think he'll mind me sharing this, but Andrew was from Andrew's Wizardly Reads was voxering me while he was reading it. And nice. I think at one point I got in all caps, "I'm going to find you and give you a hug." And at one point he had made himself popcorn for comfort. So it was great fun. I love getting the messages while people are reading it. But yeah, I mean, it is, I think any kind of book, and I mean, Philip's in the chat, so he can speak to this too, but I think any book is personal to some degree. We can't not put ourselves in the book in some way, and there's little bits and pieces of us in everything we write. So our worldviews, our experiences, what we aspire to be, what we've left behind, all of those things exist in every book we write in different aspects. So this one just happens to be way more of that intentionally. So,
and did you feel after you wrote the book, did you feel a sense of relief, like you had gone through like a therapy? It was like therapeutic for you? Very,
very much so. Yeah, there's actually a conversation that happens toward the end of the book that was almost, I had a really tough day trying to work through some things, and then I went and I had written this scene, and I didn't even realize as I was writing it, it was just kind of coming out. And I realized after I read it or reread it over that, oh, I needed to get that out. And it's the character struggling with this concept of anger, and anger is a secondary emotion. So if I let go of the anger, I have to confront what's behind that. So yeah. So it's a very mental health focused book for sure. But
yeah, it seems like, you mentioned it's about werewolves. It seems like werewolves are underused.
Oh yeah. They're so cool. And there's such a wide spectrum too of I'm gonna nerd a little bit of ways that you can use them. I mean, you can go full on like lichen, like the underworld lichens. You can go to kind of the Professor Lupin from Harry Potter, which is this kind of scrawny, like gaunt, all the way to they're mostly humanoid. They just have, like in my book, the bone structure changes and they have gray, their skin turns kind of gray and they have fangs. And so it's less animalistic and more toward the humanoid side of things. But also has that superhuman strength and that kind of stuff. So there's just so many options. And I think that we can do a lot better than Twilight, personally. No shade.
I know we can do better.
I
Yeah,
know we can do better than that. Yeah.
I need to. Yes. Yeah. I started. I didn't start very young either. So I am getting some. Now that I'm growing this out, I'm getting some grays. It's kind of weird. Not sure how to feel about it. Alan's here. Why on earth is there a stream at midnight?
Alan's in Rome.
He's
in
right.
Rome.
Hopefully he's not losing any of his kids.
Right.
Or is he putting him in the Colosseum? And,
Maybe he's intentionally losing. Right. Oops.
Yeah.
No, it's not. I've seen some pictures and it sounds like they're having a good time. So that's awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely. Somehow it doesn't surprise me that your children are. Yeah. It's true. Yeah. Good point. Much tired. Gonna have to cut off. Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm sure.
It's a lot of walking.
Definitely.
Yeah, Alan, and I think he said 30 or 35 teenagers. And there are other adults with him too, but still, it's a lot of teenagers.
That's a lot of teenagers.
Hi, K2.
Hey, K2. Good to see you. You're weak.
That's a very Alan statement. These children are weak.
I'm going until the evening walking is no problem, but all the standing is. Yeah, standing makes it harder.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Ken Liu's really great. He's on a level with people like Le Guin, in my opinion. Yeah, he's even his short stories are good.
Yeah, I haven't read The Paper Menagerie yet, but I really want to.
Yeah, we've been reading a story a week during sprints,
Nice.
and I mean, some of them are just.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's rare that someone can do both so well.
Right? Short stories. I actually think short stories are something that we underappreciate how hard they are. Like, it is really hard to tell a really impactful, contained story in a short space of pages.
Yeah, it's an art form.
For sure.
And you pass it out. Gonna have to be up earlier for.
Have fun in Pompeii.
Yeah, have fun.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, definitely. Lots of friends come in. Hey, Brent. Thanks for coming by.
Have you ever been outside the U.S.?
I haven't actually. I've done a lot of travel in the U.S., but I haven't been out.
Same.
Yeah. Where
would you go if you top destination?
If I had one, I don't know. I think I might go to Scotland.
Nice. Good. Well, I mean, yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, I think Rome, or maybe the pyramids. But I think if I went to Egypt, and I saw a McDonald's right next to the pyramid, it's like
kind of break the
what is going on?
Break the magic a little bit.
Yeah, I'd be like, it wouldn't be the same.
This is supposed to be high fantasy, not low fantasy.
Yeah, I want to see I don't want to see a McDonald's next to the Sphinx.
Right.
It's weird.
Yeah. I had a friend who was a foreign exchange student, and she was in Egypt for a while. And the Cairo Museum, which has always been, I was a huge nut about Egyptian history when I was a kid. And so the Cairo Museum was the dream. And she said it was so weird because we think of museums like we have here, in the UK and in the US, where everything is very curated. It's very, glass case, temperature controlled, all this kind of stuff. And she said the Cairo Museum, you walk in and there's just mummies piled in the hallways. And these massive, thousands of year old vases are just black from people touching them. And that I was like, oh, that hurts me. Oh.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she said it's a completely different experience than what we expect.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well,
I imagine the gold is probably kept under lock and key, but everything else is just out in the open.
Wow. I'm surprised no one just walks away with some of that pottery and stuff.
Maybe they do. I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe they have. Daniel, I have to confess that I have yet to read Phase because I heard werewolves and thought it would be like Twilight. Well,
that's fair. Yeah. And I kind of wrote it as an alternative for people who are like, dang it, I want to read about werewolves, but I don't want to read about, hot shirtless werewolves that are chasing after the girl who isn't like other girls. That's not my flavor.
Yeah, definitely. I love that the creative process can be wish fulfillment and catharsis all in one.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of catharsis in writing.
I have phase ready to go. I need to make space in my TBR.
I hope
The
you like
hardest
it,
part.
Anita. Right?
Are you starting to chew the nails? Like, oh, she's gonna read it.
Yep, there they go.
And Philip, I have to agree with that, Tori. We end up in our writing in ways we can't anticipate.
Yeah, it's even weird going back, and I reread Phased late last year because a bunch of people were picking it up, and I was like, it's been a while, and I just want to kind of like remember what they're reading. And I even realized it now 2 years later. I was like, kind of seeing things that I'd put in there that I hadn't really thought of, that were kind of parallels to things that I hadn't seen in the moment. But yeah, it's one of the cool parts though, is that our writing is kind of that's the immortality we leave behind, that somebody can read Phased in 100 years when I'm gone and still get a chance to hear something I wanted to say.
I still want to give you a hug after.
Right. Right.
And on my shelf, got more and more shame every day.
No worries, Chris. I hope you like it when you get to it. That's the other thing. Like, a lot of people, it's like, oh, I haven't, I don't ever want people to read any book if they're not in the mood for it.
Yeah.
Because if you're forcing yourself through books, it's not going to be a fun experience. And I mean, obviously, there are some books that we have to read for buddy reads, beta reads, ARCs, etc. But that's where choosing carefully which ones you add to your list is important, because, pick the ones that you're really excited about.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
And Eric, the snow should be gone by July for Ragbri. I hope so. I think that'll be the least of my worries. It'll be heat, humidity. Yeah.
I'll take cold over heat any day.
Me too. And I think we're in the minority. I think most people want heat. Yeah.
Once it gets above like 80 degrees, then it's too hot.
Yeah, 80. Once like past 80, then it's like uncomfortable. And
yep.
Yeah. I can put more layers on.
Exactly. There's a societal expectation for layers that come off, though.
Alicia, Italy for me, but last names of town in Italy.
We were talking about it, Andrew.
Yeah, we're talking about you. His ears were ringing.
Yep, that's why he showed up.
Yeah.
I said you wanted to give me a hug when you were reading it.
Where would you go if you can go anywhere?
I have a few that I really want to see. Japan. That's a big one for me, because I'm such a massive fan of so many Japanese storytelling forms, and just, I mean, a lot of people think of Japan as like a massive city, but there's so many beautiful landmarks in Japan, and so many beautiful natural places to see too, that I think it would be a cool mixture of both. South Korea is another one. I'd say Ireland, Scotland, Norway for sure, because I have Norwegian heritage. So I'd really like to do some family history travel up there. So that wasn't one, but.
And Taylor's in Japan, so.
Yes.
Tour guide.
Stop by. Yeah.
Yeah, she always tells me, like, if anyone who wants to come, I'm here. Like, I was like, tempting.
Right.
Where is the space, though?
For the TBRs. Well, especially Pete's background. It's Tetris already.
Yeah. Yeah, it gets out of control. And just thought you filled the time and space, and poof, there it is.
Oh, hugs, Andrew. Yeah, I do put my character. That's the one thing I can promise to anyone who reads any of my books ever. I will put my characters through some stuff. So just as long as you're prepared for that. Which, Steve, should be right up your alley for reading.
Yeah, it was like, what? Yeah,
the grimdark, the more grimdark, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was in Norway a few years ago. Loved it. It was so diverse.
Yeah. I'm curious, because you read a lot. I read a lot of dark fantasy, but I feel like you're even way more in the kind of grimdark horror-esque area of books. A lot of people talk about how I can't read grimdark. It's so depressing. Everything's so depressing. And it's like, so how would you respond to that as somebody who enjoys reading those genres, and obviously you're, not hating it.
Maybe I am. I don't know.
You never know. Are you?
Torture myself.
Right.
No, I think Whenever someone asks that, I think what I enjoy about those stories is how the characters persevere
Yeah.
and they overcome,
Yep.
and that even draws parallels in your own life sometimes, and seeing how they can go to the lowest of the lowest point and there's no hope,
Yeah.
and they just find a way to climb out of it, or they find a way to do something heroic, or to do
Yeah.
something to save someone else, or to do something to redeem themselves, and
Yep.
that it's the reverse of the reverse of the world they live in, and they do
Right.
something positive with all they've been through. Now there's some that are just maybe don't have that, but
Right.
there's a time and a place for those too. But I think that's what I enjoy, is seeing how these characters can overcome. Like Sienna Frost's book Obsidian is a key
Yes.
example, is like all that they go through and they still find a way.
Yeah, I really want to read that one.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good.
Yeah, I also, it's beautiful. I saw the pictures of the interior of the chapter designs. She's got illustrations and stuff in there, and I was just like, wow. It's a beautiful book.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Philip says Japan seems beautiful and fascinating to me. I've been thinking about it lately since I'm reading Vagabond.
How is Vagabond? That one's intriguing to me. Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, but before I want to ask you about that, but I'm late. But evening, everyone. Speaking of
Hi,
positive
Bo.
people in the community, Bo was one of the nicest people out there. So
Bo is such a hard worker too. Like, people don't realize how much he does in the Discords. It's kind of crazy.
it's not easy to manage those big communities. It takes a lot of work and
It
effort.
takes a
And
village.
yeah, not
Yep.
easy. But speaking of Vagabond, do you read a lot of manga or comics?
Some. I actually, admittedly, don't read as much manga as I would like. I just read 2 of the 3 volumes that I have on my shelf of Alice in Borderland, which is, there's a TV show on Netflix of the same name that's based on the manga, which I loved. So I picked up the book versions to read. And other than that, I've read a couple. I mostly watch anime, and that's what I kind of grew up with. I didn't get into manga as much, but definitely want to read more of it.
It's a nice break.
Yeah.
It's a nice break.
Yeah. A little bit of it's a different style of storytelling, and man, it feels nice to be able to read an entire book in a day. Like, you just like, wow, it's done already.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this book is 200 pages and like a couple hours ago, and like I'm done.
Yep.
And I had fun. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a nice palate cleanser for sure.
Definitely is, yeah. And of course, Bo is being Bo. You all flatter me. I'm just a cog in the bigger wheel.
He's our IT guy for the readathon, so he's making sure all of the cogs move the right direction for the month.
That takes a lot of work too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Vagabond is excellent. It took some time for me to warm up to it, but I'm all in now.
Mm.
Yeah, it does take a little bit of time to kind of adjust, because I was so used to reading, in like dense fantasy, and then I went from that to manga, and it's a totally different experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
You kind of have to adjust your brain regardless of what genre you're in, because I even know going from, Shogun to picking up another fantasy book on my TBR, or like sometimes I have a few that are like more modern memoirs, because that's another palate cleanser that I usually pick up is memoirs. So yeah, it definitely takes a little bit of a brain shift depending on what you're reading.
So if you find yourself in a reading slump, or you need a cleanser, what do you go for?
I typically go for a genre that I haven't read in a while. That's usually a good Kickstarter for me. So I do keep a little pile of memoirs for if I'm like, I can't handle one more epic fantasy, because I love it. I mean, we love it, but after a while you can only they kind of all blur together in your head. So yeah, memoirs. I do. Historical fiction can be a palate cleanser, but I do feel like that tends to be close enough to fantasy that typically if I'm burned out of fantasy, I'm also burned out of historical fiction. Sometimes I'll jump into like a middle grade, honestly. Like, I'll just grab a book that is, I know, like the Harry Potter series. I have never read it. and I have the first one on my nightstand, and sometime in April when I'm just, because I've read all these books for the readathon and I need something short, I'm just going to whip through that. Like, because it's just a really quick, I can, shut off the, oh my gosh, all of these details part of my brain that we need for fantasy. So
yeah, it can be a lot reading a few different series at the same time.
yeah. Or I'll just put it down completely and give myself a few days off, which sounds like completely antithesis to all of us book people. But sometimes you have to, and I'd rather take a few days off than be in a slump for 2 months.
So do you put a lot of pressure on yourself to read or to have content for the channel? Do you put pressure on yourself?
Yeah, I'm getting better. I'm learning. I think it's a learning curve for sure, because we all jump into booktube. Well, I shouldn't say we all. I see that most people jump into booktube and they're, really excited and we want to talk about all our favorite books and we get going, and then you kind of hit this part where you're starting to really figure out what your personality on YouTube is, and how you want to design your channel and what you want to focus on. And then you just get buried in all the things that you're supposed to be reading, and the fear of missing out, and all the buddy reads and the readathons, and the oh, well, this person's rereading Malazan and I've been wanting to do that, but I'm not quite ready yet. And I mean, it's a lot. So I think one of the healthiest things we can do as content creators is really take a step back and take a breath. Okay, if I only read, like, my February wrap up was actually hard for me to do because I only read 3 books and a manga in February.
Good.
And for me, that's very, that's a low month for me. And I was like, oh my gosh, nobody's going to care. I only have like 3 books to talk about, which is silly. I can't remember if it was 3 or 4. I can't remember. But I finally was just like, you know what? No. If that's what I read this month, that's what I read. And I'm learning how to take that pressure off of myself and to just really dive into the books that I am reading instead of constantly trying to chase that next book, because it's really easy to fall into that.
Yeah. And there's so many books that are being released, or so many books that people talk, like you said, people talk about, or they want to read, and I want to read that with those people, or I want to join in on that because it'd be fun. And so it's hard sometimes to not have that, because your instant reaction is, I want to read that, or I want to join. So it's hard to say no. It's tough.
It's very hard to say no. I'm learning. I'm getting better at it.
It's really tough.
Yeah, I was going to start my reread of Malazan in January, and the big read along kicked off, and I just felt like I needed to let them get a little bit ahead, and then I'll start again, sometime this year when I'm ready, because that was something I really didn't want to be like, okay, I'm reading it this month and I'm going to start no matter what, because Malazan is not the type of series that I would recommend people do that with. And also it's a unique series for me because that series had such an emotional impact, what I read of it when I was younger, that I'm intimidated to go back to it, because this is going to be a completely new experience. I remember the book in a certain way, and it has influenced me as a reader and writer immensely. So I'm like, how is it going to be 10 years later? I don't know. It's going to be amazing. I'm just kind of savoring it and taking my time.
It is strange the way we absorb stories differently, as whether it's something in our lives at the time, or our perspective at the time, or the other factors in our lives, or perspective, just like,
yeah.
And we come back to it later and we have a totally different reaction to it.
Yeah. Well, it's gonna, I'm in a very different stage of life now, and so Dead House Gates hit me at the right time of my life where I really needed that book 10 years ago, and it really left a massive impact on me and has totally changed how I view writing characters and human experience and all of those things, and even writing trauma. And so now I'm really looking forward, especially to Dead House Gates, because that's still one of my favorite fantasy books of all time. And I'm looking forward to reading it again from a new perspective.
So good.
I know, it's so good. It's so good.
good.
Everyone loves Memories of Ice, and I'm over here in my like Dead House Gates corner. Like, I like Memories too, but Dead House Gates, man.
Yeah,
Is
Dead
that your
House Gates
favorite
is
one
so
so far?
Yeah, it's my favorite. You've read House of Chains, right? That's the
Yeah.
last one.
Yeah.
Part 1 of House of Chains, I think, is the most fun I had.
That is
it's such a fun
it's
section.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I think cover to cover,
Yeah.
Dead House Gates is my favorite.
It's just so good. It's so good.
Things just work sometimes. It's just magic sometimes.
There's a lot of elements in that book too that are sweet spots for me. So, and I can't really talk about many of them without spoilers, but yeah, there's the Exodus part of Dead House Gates is just absolutely brilliantly written.
It's crazy. It's wild. Chris, it's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow. Means I'm off. So using that time to stay up late with all the amazing people.
I wish St. Patty's Day was like a national holiday here. That'd be great.
That would be great. Yeah. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I need to. Sometimes I pick up a mystery as a palate cleanser.
Mm-hmm.
Really easy to. I find mysteries or thrillers really easy because usually they're based in our world, and we don't have to spend time setting up a whole nother world. So it's
right.
You kind of just jump in and you go.
It's a little easier on your brain.
Yeah.
In that sense, yeah. Like you're still trying to figure out a mystery, but you don't have to build the walls around you while you're doing it.
Yeah, because you already know the world.
Exactly.
The black and blue collar reader. I got
held
up with the barber. Glad I made it. Glad you can make it. Cheers, Philip. Everyone can celebrate. Yeah, I'll be at work tomorrow. Love Dead House, though. I just picked up Memories of Ice.
Nice. Yep.
I think you'll probably catch us. Yeah, we're trying to take it slow.
Is a chonker. Like I got the trade paperback of that, and it's just like this is a brick. You could make the cornerstone of a house with this book. Yeah, that's the one I read 10 years ago.
That's ridiculous.
The mass market. I don't even know. I mean, Brandon Sanderson's books in mass market paperback are like insane. I don't know why anyone would ever I could not do that. I admire people who can.
I can't. I think that's part of why I didn't enjoy Memories of Ice is because of the format. And I should have switched to ebook or to audio, but yeah, I think is so. And I'm weird about bending spines, so I was afraid to open it too much. It's ridiculous.
Tiny little
like this. Just stuff my face in the book.
That's why I did get the as many of the trade paperbacks as I could, because that's my favorite way to read, because I'm not worried about wrecking the hardcover. And it's easier to hold the book, and I am not going to because I have light carpal tunnel in both of my thumbs from writing for 30 years. Not 30 years, I'm 30. 15 years, 16 years. But yeah, the trade paperbacks are just so much easier because the mass markets are really hard on your hands.
Yeah, and I actually picked up a used copy of Midnight Tides on Amazon, and it worked out really well. I was surprised.
Nice.
So that is an option.
Trade or hardcover?
Trade.
Nice. Yeah. Do I have the only one I'm missing is Dust of Dreams.
Oh wow, not too bad.
Well, I have three of them on hardcover, and the rest are trades. So I have Dead House, House of Chains, and Midnight Tides on hardcover, and then the rest of them I found trades because I've been hunting for the last 6 months.
It's so strange to me that I mean, I know we're in the sphere of books, and it's maybe what we see as popular may not be popular in the wider. But you would imagine a series that has at least this many people talking about it we'd be able to get any format we wanted, whichever one makes us happy.
I agree. And even the hardcovers, they're beautiful, but they're tiny. I mean, they're not like the regular size hardcovers. So nothing matches. And which doesn't bother me as much as it bothers some of my other book friends. I know that shelf spines are a big deal to a lot of people. But I'm like, why is this not consistent? How do we
Yeah.
not have a consistent set of Malazan?
You'd figure they would make it happen, but
I
I
would
don't
think
know.
so.
I guess they have other. They probably focus on newer releases or newer things, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
DK Moon is here. So some of my favorite too. Karsa Early Book 4. Yes.
Karsa is a experience in book 4.
Yeah, I can't. There's things I want to talk about, but I won't spoil it for anyone. But the way that the story unravels in that book was super cool. I loved it.
Yeah. It's, I think, one of the best character arcs. Not necessarily best, but just one of the most interesting character arcs that I've read in the series so far.
Yeah, where he is at the beginning and where well,
yeah. I know.
The ride that we go on.
It's a ride for sure.
Definitely. Matt's here. My 6-year-old daughter learned you can pinch people if they don't wear green. I got that sneaky kid last night trying to hide all my green clothes. Smart kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That sounds like something my 5-year-old would do. She's almost 6. And she's the youngest, and she's the one that's going to give me gray hair for sure.
You already know.
Oh, yeah. It's the quiet ones that disappear, and you're like, oh, no.
What are they up to?
What are they doing? Yep.
Yeah. K2, I read my favorite childhood books as a palate cleanser.
It's a good idea, too.
A bunch of Astrolin and Harry Potter, etc. Yeah.
Yep. I pick up. That's another good one where you can grab a book that, like, I'll reread Red Rising if I'm really in a slump and I just need an easy book that I know I love that I can get through in a couple of days. That's a good palate cleanser too.
I need to get to that. I need to get to that one.
I actually think, I mean, Red Rising definitely has a coming of age kind of vibe to it, but I think the content of the story is going to jive more with what you typically gravitate towards.
Yeah, I think I was talking with Yulene when she started it, and she was in the first half, and she said it's kind of YA-ish. I don't think you'll like it. So I was like, okay, it's off the list. And then she came back later. She's like, I really love this series. I think you love it too. I'm like, let's put it back on.
Put it back on. Yeah. I think oftentimes, and I keep saying this, I need to do an actual video on my channel about it, but a lot of people go into Red Rising with the wrong expectations. Because on the cover, the publicist decided that they were going to put Ender, Katniss, and now Darrow. So immediately what everybody assumes is, oh, Hunger Games and YA and all of that stuff. And I think that was a publicity thing at the time that was trying to catch all of those readers coming off of the Hunger Games craze that were now a little bit older. Oh. But it's now hurting Red Rising, in my opinion, because it's trapped it in this kind of YA sphere that it doesn't really belong in. So there's a lot of non-YA stuff that happens in that book.
Look how tiny that writing is. I love how every time you pick up another Malazan book, everything is brand new. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on that? Because I hear a lot. That's one of the most I feel like most people complain like it's a whole new world and it's a whole new set of characters. What are your feelings on that?
I mean, it is jarring. I find it jarring because, you get to the end of Dead House Gates and you're an emotional wreck with 8 boxes of tissues around you. And then you are trying to put your brain in a completely different space for Memories of Ice. And I'm not spoiling anything by saying you need tissues to read Malazan. But yeah, I mean, I would prefer if it were more linear, but I wouldn't change the series, if that makes sense. I can handle it.
I can handle it.
Yep.
And our friend Dolores is here. Hey, Dolores.
Hi, Dolores.
Hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Taylor's here.
Hey, Taylor. Good morning.
Your ears are ringing. Yeah.
Yep. Also talking about Taylor.
Yeah, talking about Japan. There's all good stuff, Taylor. I got the whole main Malazan series from ABE Books. They're a hodgepodge of editions, but it was not terribly expensive.
Yeah, I got Memories, Reaper's Gale, and Toll the Hounds on Pango Books, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's basically Mercari but for books. And they were $5 each, which was a great deal.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
I was
killer.
especially for Memories of Ice. I was really excited to see that one.
And Joe is here. Hey guys,
Hey,
sorry I'm late.
Joe.
Glad you can make it, Joe.
Read Wistful Ascending, everybody.
Yes,
It's very
yeah.
good.
You know, it's on my list. It's on my Kindle. So I'm looking forward to checking it out.
That would be, we should enact a game on BookTube where it's take a shot every time somebody in a live stream says, that's on my TBR, or I'm going to read that.
We'd be wasted in like
We'd
5
be
minutes.
so wasted.
I'd be passed out by now.
Right.
You'd just see the EMTs come in and take me away.
Yep.
Yeah, Matt says, Carsa, I shouldn't like this character, but I do.
Yep.
Or long.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to ask Erickson at some point how did, because that arc just blows my mind. Totally blows my mind.
Yeah, I love that arc. It's so great. Eric, that the great ordeal is different size bothers me a lot more than it should. Yes, it does. Because all the other books in the series are a certain size, and then the great ordeal is bigger.
Why?
So it like stands up. So the other books
in the same series.
Yeah, they're behind. Like all the books are there, and then this one's like this much taller.
Publishers are weird, man.
Yeah. And I think this one's from a different publisher because this one's Orbit, and the other ones are a different publisher. I forget the name.
So the
strange
publisher mark doesn't even match on the spines. Rude.
Kind of strange. Yeah, but it's so good that I don't
I know Joanna has really been loving Baker lately too.
It's wild.
That's what I've been hearing.
Wild. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Carsa, Conan, think you're a barbarian. Hold my beer.
Conan is like an office worker compared to Carsa. I'll just be honest.
Yeah, Carsa's something else.
Carsa's an experience.
Yeah, I love him. How's it going, Legends of Braybar? Thanks for coming by. I love the idea that Tori is reading intense violence as a palate cleanser.
You know, it says a lot about me as a person, I think. It's true. It's funny because, like, plot-wise, yeah, I mean, Red Rising is a very, you read a lot of grimdark, so you'll probably not find it as violent as the average reader, but there's a lot of blood and guts in it. But it's the characters. For me, the plot is like, yeah, there's all that stuff happens, but those are my characters, Yeah. So but I'm basically trying to save face here because I totally agree, Matt.
Hey, Shad. So
Hey, Shad.
I've been watching college basketball.
That's why George was, earlier.
Yeah. Scarecrow, I found a complete set of 1 through 10 of Malazan trades for 100 total. That's a great deal.
Nice. That's a really good deal.
Yeah, especially trades. $10 a pop's not bad.
Yeah. Do you swing for special editions too often?
I don't. If I have the book already, this is the thing. If I own the book already, I have it.
Right.
And if I don't own it, am I going to pony up that money for the chance that I don't like it?
Right.
So if I really love something, maybe like if there's ever a special edition of a series that I really love, maybe I'll be like, I'd really like to have that on the shelf. But
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you?
Kind of same. I've backed a couple of Kickstarters in the last year. I did back the special edition of Sword of Kaigen, which I have not read yet, but I'm not sorry that I did because I've seen the proofs for that, and it is just going to be, it's going to be beautiful. I'm so excited. I'm kind of the same way in the sense that if I already own it, and also I don't want to have a book on my shelf that I'm constantly terrified of it getting wrecked. And I I would want to read it, but I also wouldn't want to wreck it. So I'm like, I mean, give me the old, like, beat up trade paperbacks of Malazan. I'll take them because, like, I'd rather just, really be able to dig into my book and not have to worry about it losing value, or because if you spend that much on a book, like the people that own the Subterranean Press editions of things, I would just be anxious all the time. Like, this is worth a lot of money. It's like a $1,500 book. I can't imagine having that on my shelf.
1,500?
The Malazan Subterraneans,
Really?
the original ones, yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that.
On eBay. Not that they'll sell for that much, but that's like what they get listed for.
Wow.
I can't even imagine owning a book that expensive.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to read it either because I'd be so worried about breaking the spine. And even though it doesn't break the spine on the outside, you still break it on the inside, and
Right.
it's just not the same. And I'm weird about that kind of stuff. So
I'm also one of those weirdly frugal adults where I see a $1,500 book and I'm like, but my car payment,
I don't know if that's being frugal. That's just being like reasonable.
Yeah. Like, I don't need a $1,500 book. I won't read it anyway.
No, I'll just sit on the shelf.
Right.
I guess if you're like a mega fan, then
Sure.
But
if you're a collector that way, yeah.
Yeah, if you could sell them, maybe sell off the rest of your collection of paper or something.
Just have one book on my shelf.
Just like, here's my collection, one book.
Yep. Gardens of the Moon, Subterranean Press.
I wonder how. I have to check that out.
You should look at the covers. Also the Dead House Gates cover for Subterranean. It's the scene at the end.
Oh.
And it's just, it's incredible. So you should definitely Google the covers.
So the special edition Malazan is 1,500, but we can't get just like a new set of trades.
Right? Exactly. Yeah, the Red Rising Subterraneans are almost that expensive too.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I don't love. They're cool. They're very cool, but they're not like, I wouldn't spend $1,500 on them.
Yeah, it's expensive. Taylor, I feel like series like Malazan, the Broken Empire trilogy, etc., have this weird gap where there's premium special editions and then mismatched secondhand paperbacks only, or no in between.
So true.
It's really strange. You'd figure they would want to cash in on the fans and have like a normal set of trades, but I want a special edition of Malazan, and Folio Society needs to get a special edition of all Baker's Second Apocalypse. I wouldn't read it. I wouldn't read my specials. It's all about the aesthetic. Eric. I'm not sure I need an illustrator. Yeah, there's some scenes.
That's a fair point. I haven't read it, but I've heard enough to imagine.
Man. The Great Ordeal. I don't know.
Aptly named.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's something in there's something that is in all the books, and you think, wow, that's. But it like went up a level that I didn't know it could go up. It's wild.
It couldn't possibly get worse. Baker's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, he's like, watch this. Folio Society put out a $1,500 Lord of the Rings last year. I love special editions, but that was not even an option.
I just can't imagine spending $1,500 on a book. That just blows my mind a little bit. I can't do it.
I can't either. I can't. Depends on what they choose to illustrate, but the wrong scenes will certainly be horrific, or maybe the right ones, depending on what part of sort of person you are. Very true. Very true. I have a bunch of signed leather-bound Sandersons still in box. Wow. Well, I read it in Kindle.
Those are beautiful.
Signed leather-bound Sanderson books.
Yeah. I know he has on his Dragonsteel website, he'll put up the really fancy leather-bound editions of his books. I think a couple of them are sold out, but I know several of my friends have like the whole set on a shelf, and it's very impressive looking.
That's crazy. That's wild. Our friend PL is here, just stopping by to quickly say you're both awesome. Listen to this from later. Enjoy the chat. Thanks for coming by, PL. Hope you're being safe out there. Scarecrow, my personal opinion is that special editions of novels don't add that much except from aesthetics and art, but I would say that comic special editions are like absolute editions. They have much bigger artwork. That's a
Yeah,
good
that
point.
makes sense. Yeah, I would say like one of the things I enjoy too about what's possible in publishing now is that there's so much more that you can do with the interior of just the standard paperback editions of things, especially with indie publishing. So, I mean, Obsidian Awakening is a great example of that, where Sienna just has these beautiful illustrations right in the standard paperback, and so it's cool to see people playing with that a little bit more and seeing what they can add to the regular books, because then it almost feels like you have a special edition, even though it's just the book you got for $18 on Amazon.
Yeah, it's nice that like you said, they're playing around with that format and what they can do with it, and it's evolving on its own, kind of like
For sure.
organically.
I'm hoping at this point the plan is that I'm going to have 3 interior illustrations in mine. So Sarah is my best friend, and she's a incredible illustrator. She did a interior illustration for Tiago's book Shade of Madness this last year. If you saw that big black and white griffin one going around Twitter. So we've been chatting about the scenes that we want to do for Bloodstones.
Wow.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So how close is your book to being finished?
I'm about 80,000 words into the first draft, and that, for reference, is about 2/3 done.
Okay.
So the goal is end of 2023 is publishing goal.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I started it in July or August last year, I think.
Wow, that's not bad.
No.
That's a lot of
Yeah, and I'm trying to take my time with it because, Epic fan. I think one of the things in self-pub is we get used to this really fast publishing pace, and I really want to make sure that I have no problem taking a little bit longer and making sure that this is, the best that it can be. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I would imagine that'd be hard too, to just be like, when it's done, and not put pressure on yourself to I have to have it out by this time.
Oh yeah, there's always things. I mean, I can go back to phased and fix it. You have to get to a point where you realize, okay, in 5 years, would I change certain things about this? Or yeah, probably. But it's at the point where I'm proud of it and I'm ready for other people to, see it, because it's not a dumpster fire anymore.
So if you wouldn't go change story elements or dialogue, but if you were reading it and you found a typo somewhere, you found the wrong punctuation, would you change that?
Yeah, I think is it Amazon or Ingram or both? I'm trying to remember now. You can update the interior for free.
Oh, okay.
So I would just keep a list, and if I had 4 typos that, because the reality is people come into indie thinking, oh, there's a typo, it's indie. I'm like, dude, have you read all of the traditionally published books have typos? People, I think, tend to be looking for it a little bit more when it comes to self-pub. But the nice part about it is for indie, we can fix it. So if somebody's like, hey, you had this weird line break on page 97, I can go, oh, awesome, fixed. And then every book that people buy after that, it would be updated.
Yeah, typos don't bother me much when I'm reading, even in traditional or self-pub. It doesn't bother me, but I always worry, I wonder, should I message, if I know the author, should I tell them, or is that is that out of line? Or
I think it really depends on the author, to be honest. I wouldn't be bothered by that in any way, because it saves me time. And if I never noticed it, I'd rather know that it's there and be able to go in and, update it. But I know some authors, it's like, nope, I'm done. I don't want to look at it anymore, which is fair. So yeah, I think it really depends on the author. But if you find a typo and you read phased at some point, feel free to let me know.
Yeah, there's been a couple of times when I'm not I just say, hey, I just wanted to let you know that there's this weird space on this page. Just heads up, you know.
Yeah.
It's been pretty positive so far, but
Yeah.
I'm some authors I just keep it to myself. But if I know them, they'll be like, hey, so and so, it's you know,
Yeah.
here's a picture of it. If you know, just a heads up, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's nice because I mean, for me, again, I appreciate it because that means that, you know, as authors and even our alpha beta readers, we've stared at this book so much, like your eyes just kind of glaze over it after a while. So even, you know, a book that's been through 9-10 people before it is published, you know, we're human.
Yeah, exactly. You know, speaking of humans, I want to ask you about AI here in a minute, but
Ooh,
get your take on it.
hot takes.
Yeah, hot takes. Daniel says, take the Sanderson leather bands out of plastic. It's not archival plastic. They may mold if you leave them in the plastic.
Ooh,
That's not good.
moldy books are not cool.
No. I saw a video of where you got your special editions of the Dandelion Dynasty. They are gorgeous. Not sure, not sure if I'm starting the correct series, though.
Yeah, it was those, Dan. I know what you're talking about. I watched her book haul, the one where she had all of the books at her US address, and I was like, "Oh man, what? Like that's a haul."
It's awesome. Aesthetics are important to me, at least. I am a sucker for pretty cardboard with original art.
That's fair.
No shame, no apologies. Full shelves.
No judgment.
No judgment. We're all into. You know, we'll have different interests. And
I like looking at everyone else's special editions.
Yeah, I like looking at them. I just don't like paying for them.
Right, exactly. I'll live vicariously through Chris and Bo and
There have been a couple that I've seen and it's like, wow, that's really beautiful, but yeah. The Dandelion Dynasty had a special edition from the Broken Binding with digital edges. Truly some gorgeous books.
Beautiful.
Seeing the large art in Absolute Comics from great artists is jaw dropping, and it seems like the Absolute editions are a lot cheaper than like the special editions of other books. More kind of like more features in it. It's still the same book. It's just a presentation, but with some of the Absolute editions, there's extra like artwork and bigger pages and things. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I have not read too many comics. My husband is more into. He has a few collector's comics and stuff, but yeah, I like movies based on comics. And I would 100% try. Like my husband has one that's an X-Men set that I'll probably read at some point because I'm a big X-Men fan. So
if it's Chris Claremont, you'll probably be okay. He's great.
Yeah.
Amazon lets you change the contents as often as you want, no charge. Blissful Ascending is on update 5 or so right now. Oh, Christopher Warman is here.
Hey, Chris.
Another one of the great people in the community, definitely.
Have you read Seasons of Albuquerque yet?
Oh, I love it.
Isn't it good? Oh, so good.
Yeah,
so good.
It's like a roller coaster because I didn't really know what to expect, but it's like touching and it's all these things in this little book.
Yeah.
It's wild that they did so much with such a small space.
Yeah. And they're such a good creative team too. It was really fun listening to them talk about their process, and they definitely have it streamlined.
Yeah. They're great. And they're going to the LA Book Festival. I wish I'd have known about that before. It's just hard to keep up.
Oh, yeah.
I apologize for using the word plastic so many times, like I was trying to compose a strange or bad poem. Talking about changing books, what are your thoughts on Roald Dahl's censorship that's happening? I think it's a slippery slope. Not familiar with that one.
Yeah, it's a children's book series that they're changing the wording based on a bunch of sensitivity readers that went through it to be a lot more progressive and modern in some of the topics that it's tackling. So that's what they're referring to. Yeah,
it is a slippery slope.
I'm against it.
Yeah,
I'll just put it out there. Yeah. Like I can't stop it, but I'm definitely not for it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we learn from our history and we move forward.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was. It's of its time, and
Hmm.
but with AI as an author, does AI worry you? I
No.
shouldn't say worry. Is it? Is it? What is your reaction to AI?
Um, I kind of had the experience where it started in the art community first, and my best friend being a illustrator who I mean we've been best friends for 18 years, so I have watched her, from we're teenagers and she's drawing horses on road trips to now where she's doing these beautiful end paper illustrations for these fantasy novels, which is just I'm so proud of her. I'm so excited, but um, seeing the impact on her and the other artists that I know that have worked so hard through their entire lives to perfect and work so hard on their craft kind of put a bad taste in my mouth from the get-go, because it was just a tool is a tool, right? But the thing that's tough about it is when it's used in the wrong way, it becomes very harmful. And I think that was a perfect example of AI where, my best friend who, is a very small artist on her small website had pictures taken, her artwork stolen from her website to feed these machines that she did not consent to. And that's just her experience. I mean, all of these artists were just, their art was being stolen essentially.
Wow.
So she has, if you go to her YouTube channel, Sparrow Springs, she has a fantastic video where she explains what actually happened and how the AI art machines were created and how they took things from websites and stuff. So if anybody's interested in more of that,
What was the name of the channel?
Sparrow Springs.
Sparrow Springs.
Sparrow Springs is her website. She does a lot of art tutorials, and she does like videos where she shows her process on doing fantasy art. So she has the griffin that she did for Chiago on there. You can watch her draw it in real time or work on it in real time. It's pretty cool. But yeah, as far as writing goes, I'm not, just because even if AI books became a massive part of the industry, which they may at some point. I mean, never say never anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop writing. And I think, they might be able to get to a point where it's very technical and but it's still not coming from a human experience and a human spirit. And that to me is the heart and soul of what writing is. So an AI to me can't replicate that. Like, it may be able to write a good book. I'm not arguing that, but I just think, yeah, I'll keep writing. It's not going to bother me.
I think to your point, I think having art, with the computer writing it for you, they're trying to make it as perfect as possible.
Right.
But I think having those imperfections is what makes it so special. That's what makes it shine, and that's what connects us to it, is those imperfections. And it's not always going to be perfect. You can't put it in a template and it be exactly what you want. There's going to be things that aren't perfect.
Yeah. And if you think about, they may be trying to find, say we write the most perfect fantasy novel. Well, you're not actually, because if you think about it, your perfect fantasy novel is going to look very different than my perfect fantasy novel as far as what we like to read and what we like to consume. And readers exist on such a massive spectrum of taste that you're never going to be able to find the formula that works for everybody.
Yeah. That's what makes it fun, though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this name. Fat Yeti Reads. Hey, yo.
That's awesome.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. Just came across your videos from Matt's Fantasy Books video. Thank you. I love your content that I have seen so far. Just give it time. Tori,
no, stop. Steve is an amazing content creator. Don't listen to him.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Tori seems super lovely. Also, does she have a channel? Yes,
I do.
She does. Yeah,
ToriTalks.
It's in the description. So it is. If you just find Tori, her channel is right there. So just click on that; it'll take you right to it.
ToriTalks 2, because there was a ToriTalks who talks about other things.
Hmm.
I think I'm either close to or over her subscriber count now. So
Oh, nice.
I'm now,
Cool.
I think, I have to check. I can't remember if she's still bigger than me or not.
I have the crown. I have the crown.
If I will get there eventually.
And I wanted to ask you before, hopefully Taylor's still here, because I felt so bad for her during our Friday conversation when we were talking about her pregnancy. Because it was, but if you were to give Taylor some advice or just some helpful hints, what would you tell her?
About being a mom or pregnancy
Pregnancy, I think, the
yeah.
whole process, yeah.
Breathe. Like just, it's an incredible experience. It's the hardest and best thing that you'll ever do in your life. And it was an experience that was, I don't know. It's hard to kind of condense all of that into a few words. But yeah, I can't remember. I know we talked a little bit about it but it was mostly turned into a little bit of a sausage fest. I think,
yeah, it did.
Yeah, just know that there's going to be a lot of people that give Taylor so much advice that she's going to be getting advice from everybody. How to be a mom, what their birth story was, and how hers is probably going to be the exact same. It's not. It's everybody has their own journey, and it's uniquely theirs, and it's beautiful and wonderful and hard and crazy and all of the things all at the same time. So yeah. Have 3 of them, and each one was very different, and all 3 of mine were at home, so mine was a very different experience than a lot of my peers at the time. So
that sounds so much better to be home.
It was amazing. It's not for everyone, because some people really love, I need to be out of my space so that I know I can just put my feet up and everybody does everything for me, which they kind of do at home anyway too, but it's just you're kind of in a different mindset. So, but yeah, it was amazing. Definitely wouldn't have changed anything.
Just to be in the comfort of your own home and to not have to deal with people in and out and all the commotion and the people changing shifts and new people coming in and some people leaving. And there's a lot.
And it's also, the control is much more in the mom's sphere with that. For me, I was the, there's just, and it's not, again, this isn't a generalized thing because there's a lot of amazing OBs, but midwives are, for the most part, incredibly respectful of, it's just a much more personalized experience, I guess, which is lovely. So
definitely.
Yeah. And I had one of my midwives was with me through all 3, which was nice because then it's the same person and you know each other really well.
Oh, nice. That must have been really helpful too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Fat Yeti reads, "Oh, sweet, thanks so much. Happy you guys like the name."
I love it.
For me. Yeah, I love it.
It's great.
That's awesome.
Already has so much personality. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, definitely. It took a lot for me to want to go public with this name. It's been my gamer tag or Xbox and PS for like 15 years now. That was a good pickup.
Yeah.
I'm going to start a booktube channel in a few weeks. Have you ever? I've only ever read like 10 books my whole life, so it's like fun to do vlogs from it and unique perspective that I have. Just follow Tori.
I love that.
Yes. Yeah, I wasn't a big reader. I read a lot of comics. That's mostly what I read when I started my channel, and it was kind of like my journey and my reading journey too. So yeah, it's a great perspective. And let us know when you start your channel. Fat
Yeah.
Yeti. Yeah.
I will definitely check it out after this.
Yeah. Let us know how we can help, if I can help at all. I mean, yes, good look at the channel.
Yeah, it's a good name.
Yeah. Thank you, Tori. I don't have a choice due to medical things, so I'll be in a hospital setting, but it means a lot to hear your perspective.
Yep. And that's the thing. I think birth is beautiful anywhere it happens. Like I'm excited for you, Taylor. And again, feel free if you ever need some mom encouragement, you know where to find me.
Yeah, it did turn into a sausage fest that night. So I felt so bad because like I wanted, you guys to like connect, because offer her some
Yeah.
encouragement. You know?
Oh yeah. It's going to be amazing, and I am so excited for her. Like that moment when you get to see your baby for the first time, there's nothing else like it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. We're all in your corner, Taylor.
Yep,
Definitely.
you got this.
Yes. Got it. Our friend Helena's here. Hey, Stephen Tori. I had a question for Tori. Has becoming a mother, great question, has becoming a mother changed your writing?
Yes. Yes. I think it would have to. I mean, the way I write children has changed. The way it also really bothers me when people don't like a book because of a young protagonist, because they say, oh, well, kids wouldn't actually do this or be that smart. And I'm like, but they would, like they can be. So I actually love reading books with smart young protagonists, like kids that are like, Ender's Game, Ender's Shadow are still, I really liked reading those, and there's some other ones, but yeah. And also I would say reading, it has also changed because my tolerance level for children in peril has definitely changed very drastically.
Yeah, definitely.
So depends on what it is, but to some extent.
Yeah, I was looking for Fat Yeti Reads' channel. I don't see it, so but I'll keep my eye out for it. Fat Yeti.
Yeah, it might not be public yet.
Yeah, it may not be public. Great question, Helena. Hope you're doing
Yeah,
well.
thanks for that.
Yeah, Helena has a ton of great questions.
Yeah.
Fat Yeti, how long have you guys been going for, and how long have you known each other? I'm a little over 2 years.
I turned 3 in January 1st.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was 2 in January something. I don't know.
Nice. January is a good month to start a booktube channel.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And I think we've known each other for 5 or 6 months.
5 or 6 months, probably. Yeah, because I was gone off of booktube for about 10 months, and I came back last June-ish. So yeah, probably around August, September, maybe we met.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. It's so many great people.
Oh yeah. I'm so glad, because I was not part of the community we're in when I was on booktube in 2020 and 2021. And I think that was one of the reasons why I got burned out, because I just didn't have the right community. And now I'm so excited to go forever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And Dan agrees. I'm also a new avid reader who decided to start a channel. Let me know when you drop your channel. I will definitely sub. Yeah, definitely. Let us know. We'll be sure and spread the word for you.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that so much. BookTube seems like an awesome community. I've yet to really find any crazy toxicity within it. It's out there.
We just stay away from it.
Yeah, we have our own little bubble over here. So
yep.
Yeah. One thing that surprised me to that point is how, because when I first started, I wasn't sure how willing everyone was to engage, like to to meet up or to have discussions or just to talk, whatever. Everyone's so eager. I don't say eager, but everyone's so willing to engage. Almost everyone.
Yeah. I think that's the fun part. I mean, to me, one of the reasons I started my channel was because I wanted to talk to people about the books that I was reading and the books that I liked, and have actual deeper discussions with people that got it or were also reading books. And that's doing stuff with your friends is something that, for the most part, I think everyone can relate to and enjoy. Yeah. And I think that's essentially what booktube is you're doing something you love and you get to talk to people about it. Who doesn't love that?
Yeah. Well, I see some people who are kind of struggling to get an audience, and it's really frustrating. It can be hard to get going. And that's one thing that I try and encourage people to do is, engage with other people, reach out and just join you don't have to, because it can be intimidating, but at least join a circle, because I think we all have our circles, but we also have wider nets too. So we all have but it's not, I wouldn't say it's too, I mean, there are cliques, but I don't think it's too exclusionary. I think everyone's kind of, we all blend. So it's not a big deal.
I mean, everybody has their inner circles because, we naturally gravitate towards certain types of people, and we can get closer to certain people. And, but it's not, I was worried about that when I came back to booktube, because I saw all of these groups and these bigger channels that had gotten going, that had started kind of around the same time I did. And I was really nervous about breaking into that. And I mean, it just start talking to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though I'm not a huge fan, I think Discord's a good place to go to meet
Yep.
people.
There's a lot of great Discord
Yeah.
communities.
There's some great ones. And of course, we have our forums too. So I just have to throw it out there.
So join our Discords and Steve's forum, and
there you go. Yeah.
you'll have plenty of options.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of people. Yeah, a ton of people out there willing to engage with you. Because they're so smart about some things and so dumb about other things.
Truth. The things you never thought you'd say as a parent.
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it?
Why are you shoving a banana in your ear?
That's not where the banana goes.
That's no.
Yeah. And it is Matt's birthday.
Nice. Happy BookTube birthday, Matt.
Happy BookTube birthday. Matt's channel is one that I point to when people say no one cares about reviews anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They all go to, everyone's going to TikTok. Nobody cares about YouTube, but people do care.
Yep.
And Matt's just really good at reviews and really good at like presentation and, explaining. He's, watching his reviews, and people gravitate towards that. People look for reviews, and that content is going to be, if he makes a book review today, it's going to be good in 5 years from now.
Right. I think that's one of the things, like I love doing the reviews, and I won't ever stop doing them, just because it's a evergreen content option. And also that's kind of why I started the channel in the first place, was to talk about the books I was reading.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think everyone brings such a unique perspective to the books. I can listen to 10 different Red Rising reviews, and they're all different, and they all have, unique things that they're pulling out of it. So that's the cool part.
Definitely.
But
Helena, yeah, that's really interesting. I've heard Pet Sematary is one of those ones to read before having kids.
Noted. I have not read anything Stephen King yet.
I've only read a couple.
Okay.
I don't know if King's for me.
Not the right fit.
Yeah, he's very descriptive sometimes. It gets annoying. But people love him, so,
Yeah, I think I have, what did I get? I got The Gunslinger.
Oh.
Because a friend of mine was like, you have to read this. This has an amazing child, like he wrote the child character in this really well. So she wanted me to read it. But I don't know that Stephen King is going to be my cup of tea either.
I've tried to finish it for like 20 years. I've never been able to finish it.
Wow.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I finally just gave up. But I really liked 11/22/63. I thought that was good. I DNF'd the Dark Tower after book 4.
Okay.
What else? There's something else I tried to read. Oh, his short story collections, which is really a novella collection. There was a few standouts, but yeah. And another thing that really irritates me is when authors insert themselves in their stories all the time.
Yes.
Or they have there's always a writer in their stories. Like, okay, I get it. Like,
oh, look.
Oh, another writer. And how special, It's like, come on, like, let's do something else. Like, we get it. You're cool. Like,
Part of me wants to put a writer in my book just for you now.
I don't mind it once in a while, but it's like
when it's an insert for the author, it's
It's like, look how cool I am. It's like, I know you're cool, but you have to remind me all the time.
Yeah, it really bothers me when I can tell that the characters are becoming puppets for something that the author wants to say to the reader. Like when it's really heavy-handed like that, it really throws me out. Like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to your characters. And I will, it's funny because the opposite side of that is you can really tell a lot about the author based on the books that they write, in my opinion. You can kind of get to know them a little bit. But don't puppet your characters. Just don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Fat Yeti Reed says, yeah, it should be live in a few weeks, I think. Just getting over the nerves of filming. You guys definitely seem super awesome. Yeah, you're never going to feel ready.
Nope. Just do your first video.
Yeah, and you'll probably think it's terrible. and you'll probably not be satisfied with it, but just do it.
One of the tricks that I always tell people too is pick something like either do your intro video do like the booktube newbie tag if you need something to like just, follow a certain rubric, but also if you want to do a first video and you don't know what to talk about something that you really love. If you only read a few books, which one is a favorite that you really enjoyed, and just do a video about it, because that gives you the opportunity to already kind of have some ammunition. So it's not quite as you're not coming up with a whole bunch of fresh stuff.
You know what I would love to see? I don't know who's in charge of the booktube newbie tag. I would love to see some new questions.
I don't even know where it started. Oh yeah. It's
There's
outdated.
Some really bad questions. I think, and kudos to people who have done, I mean, kudos to the ones who started it. Of course, it's a great way. And I go searching for booktube newbie tags, and I try and sub people and encourage them. So I do try to keep up with it, but I think it'd be nice to have like a new set of questions.
Yeah. I was just thinking too, because I'm such a content junkie at this point. For Fat Yeti too. You mentioned earlier that you've only read 10 books. You could literally do a video to start your channel that is, I've only read 10 books, and here's the books that, like, you could start with that.
Yeah.
That'd be a super easy one. And you literally just hold the book up or put the thing over on the side and say, I read this, I liked it, didn't like it.
That's a great idea. Or just say, this is my perspective and this is my journey, or, something like that.
Yep.
You could ask for suggestions, and you'll get a ton of
you will
suggestions.
Get flooded. Yep.
You'll be flooded with suggestions. Good call. I've noticed some people who hate on some things too much, but it seems better than some communities I've been a part of before. I try not to do negative stuff.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same. I mean, I will be honest. I'm always honest about whether I liked or didn't like a book. If somebody asks me and I DNF'd something, I'll tell them, but to me, there's a fine line between this book really didn't work for me, and here are the reasons why. It may work for you if you like these things versus, trashing it and just going after, especially I see sometimes, if it's a personal attack on the author or something. I mean, it's like, there is absolutely no reason for that. There's no reason for that. Somebody worked really hard on this, whether it was great or not great, in your opinion, just say it wasn't for you and here's why. That's fine. You don't need to be aggressively negative about it.
Yeah. I always try to name something I like and things I didn't like. Because you can find something you
absolutely
liked. Something.
Yeah.
And like you said, you say, look, it wasn't for me, but if you like this type of story, then maybe, give it a shot. Because
I don't know if you do this, but I've seen several times where I will read a 1, 2, 3-star review for a book on Goodreads, and what the person didn't like actually makes me want to pick up the book. So you never know. Like, if I say, hey, I'm not a big fan of these things, and so this book really didn't work for me because of those things, somebody's going to watch that and be like, but I love those things. I'm adding it to my TBR right now.
I think I've bought more books from bad reviews than I have from positive.
Yeah, you're kind of notorious for that at this point.
Yeah, because someone said this book is too dark. I hate it. It's too violent, or it broke my heart. I hate it.
Send it my way.
Bye. I want
Wallet
that.
out.
Yeah, take my money. DK Moon, I don't really want to talk about books with peeps who don't read. I need the booktubers that they actually read books.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of my time is reading now.
Same.
Yeah.
I actually don't watch TV that much anymore because of it.
No, I don't read. I used to play. I wasn't like a huge gamer, but I would play games once in a while, like to unwind. Yeah. I haven't touched a game in like 2 years since I started the channel.
A couple hours of Horizon Zero Dawn this year, and that's been it. I tried Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, and that game just kicked my butt. So
I tried to play, because I used to love City Skylines, like the city building game, and I tried like a week or two ago. I was listening to the Dandelion or to the Veiled Throne. I thought, well, I'll listen while I build this city, and I couldn't get the road straight, and I was like, I'll just listen to the book, forget it.
Over it.
Over it. Until there's also a lot of little pockets
Good
on
point,
booktube.
Taylor.
Yeah, I started in a completely different space from this one, and I still interact with both. You don't need to limit yourself. Yeah,
True. Yep.
very true.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, I started in more the YA fantasy circle of booktube, and that just wasn't the right community for me for lots of reasons. But I actually was really inspired when I came into the fantasy community, because as a young woman talking about, I like dark and military fantasy. So even within the fantasy genre, those subgenres are even more male dominated typically. And so I was like, oh man, I'm going to be like, the black sheep of this. So I remember coming on and seeing, Murphy talking about Lies of Loch Lamora. And she was a big inspiration for me to actually really start talking about dark fantasy and epic fantasy and stuff, because I was like, oh, somebody else. So, but the thing that I was worried that I wouldn't be welcomed in because of that. And that has absolutely not been the case. I have my circle of all of the beards that are my friends now.
Yeah, that's good to hear that you didn't. That was a welcoming place for you with that.
Oh yeah.
There's so many great female authors too that write dark fantasy, like
Yes.
Anna Smith Spark and Sienna Frost, and there's horror. There's a ton of great female horror authors too.
Yep. Yeah, I really didn't feel like I was being ignored or pushed out or any of that. Everybody was very welcoming.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Which I appreciated.
And DK Moon is not a King fan either. Glad I'm not alone. That's just me. I haven't read Green Mile.
I've seen the movie.
Yeah, good movie.
The movie was very good.
Yeah.
And I've heard, I think that Green Mile is one of the closest adaptations of book to movie.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah, that's pretty close. And Joe and I, we're Dark Tower DNF buddies. I'm curious. We're gonna have to talk about that, Joe.
I can't imagine Joe enjoying Dark Tower based on what I know of it.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything. There was just some creative choices that were made that I just didn't jive with. Just didn't work for me.
That's fair.
Yeah, just a little too silly.
Hi, Thiago.
Thiago's here. Speaking of Thiago. Glad you can make it.
We got to stop talking about him now.
I know. We can't stop saying bad things about him. He's here now.
Right?
Yeah, it's a bit outdated. A few of those questions I can't even answer because I never really read before.
Yeah.
I think I really like your idea, Tori, about just kind of like, these are the books I've read.
Yeah, I've only read 10 books or whatever, and here's what I thought about all of them.
I'm starting my journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you could do a follow-up video as like, the next 10 books I'm most excited to read or whatever. Like that would be a good follow-up to that.
That'd be great. That's a great idea. And it is weird to like jump in with something like that.
Yeah.
But just go for it.
Just go for it.
Don't worry about it. And
you don't need to wait to get to a certain point before you start talking about certain things or doing certain content types.
Yeah. And yeah, let us know when you start. We'll boost the signal for you.
Absolutely.
And I thought I actually had to be tagged by someone. I didn't. You just did it on your own. Yeah.
Nope. You can just do it.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but negative reviews get the most views. It's a shame, but it's the case. Yeah. There's some things I just don't do.
Yeah. I know if I did a lot, I tend to be very expressive and animated when I rant about things. So I know that I could get a lot of subscribers if I did a bunch of rant videos, but that's not the type of channel I want to build, It's not worth it.
I think part of it is what you put out is what you get back.
Exactly.
So if you put out negative things, you're going to get those negative people back to you. It's going to come back around.
Yeah. That's not a community I want.
No, I want no part of that. No part of that. Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with people not enjoying things. Like, I have people in my comments that were like, I really hated this book. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. But
I feel you guys, as I've gotten older, I'm 29 now, gaming has not been the same for me. Getting up there, 29.
I'll be 32 in May.
Nice.
So getting there.
This is the best pocket of booktube. Thank you, Helena.
I think so.
Yeah. Your background reminds me of Ravnica. I am doing the blue and the green. So you're right on
Okay.
target, Chago. Blue
Nice.
and green. Ravnica, yeah.
Black and red. Shockingly, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
My hat, literally.
Ooh, are you a Poppy War fan? It's on my top 10 list to read when I start up. I know it's kind of hit or miss for some people, but super excited for that one. I have thoughts about Poppy War.
A lot of people have that'll be a good one, actually. I think, Yeti, because there's so many people with so many different thoughts about it. So it'll be interesting to see when you read it, like what your take on it is. I always find those kind of controversial series the most interesting to watch reviews about, because you can literally go from somebody who's just, this is the most amazing thing they've ever read, to they absolutely hated it. and it's just completely split down the middle.
Yeah, every book was a little different, but I really like the second book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dragon Republic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that one.
I haven't read any of them yet.
Yeah. Sometimes I think I'd read more if I wouldn't watch booktube, mostly because there was so much to watch. If I spent all that time reading. Yes, I can relate.
I feel so bad because I follow so many people, and I love all of these people, and I want to watch all their content, and I can't. It's stressful.
I used to worry about it, and I just kind of got to the point where I was like, I can't keep up.
I try to do a few videos a day where I will watch a good chunk of it, and I'll comment something, about what I've seen, so that I am at least because I want to show people that I am still engaged and I want to see their content. So
yeah,
I try, but I also don't pressure myself because I can't. It's just too much.
Yeah, you just can't. I have a cool name for the first video, I think, but I also wanted to jump in on the newbie tag. Yeah.
Nice. Do both.
Yeah, do both.
Nothing wrong with that.
There are right and wrong ways to do negative reviews.
Totally agree, Dan.
Alicia, my booktube channel, my YouTube channel will be going live at the end of the month. Let us know. We'll be sure and boost it for you.
That's awesome.
Yes, definitely.
I love that I love seeing new booktubers just because of the excitement, of what are they, getting to meet them and what they're going to talk about and seeing what books they like. And it's always exciting.
It is. It's great meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel's here. Dread, I missed it. Yeah, we're almost there. Oh, you sweet summer child. Oh, you look way younger.
I get that a lot. Usually people are shocked when I say that my oldest is 10 years old.
In either case, hoping you're having a wonderful day. Well, thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Rachel.
DK Moon Night Owl going out for dancing while you all old folks talk about books. Thank you, DK. Thank you.
Have fun
dancing. Don't pull a hammy. Taylor, I always like to comment when I watch, so that limits what I can watch because I need to be able to reach a keyboard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. DK Moonwalk.
Yes.
Well, I think we could go on for hours. I think we could.
100%.
Yeah,
we'll have to do it again.
Yes, definitely. But I know you have a family and you have things to do, so I don't want to keep you too long. I know you have stuff to get to, but thank you so much for coming. It was such a pleasure. It's so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this chat for like 2 weeks. So thank you for asking me. I really appreciate it.
No, I knew that I didn't even have questions or anything prepared. It's just I just know we're going to talk about stuff. So
I usually get slightly anxious before live streams if it's someone that I haven't talked one-on-one with before. And for this one, I was just like, it'll be fine. We'll be fine.
That's good to hear. That's really good to hear. Yeah. Because I try to make it as easy and casual as possible. So
you are an excellent content creator in the sense that you create a very calming, comfortable space for whoever you're talking to. And it's a very, very easy to just relax and enjoy the chat.
Oh, that's the best compliment. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And everyone who's starting a channel, let us know. I'll be sure and boost it for you.
For sure.
Well, Tori, thank you so much. Before we go, where can people find you? And the channel link is in the description, so be sure and go sub Tori's channel. But where else can people get in touch with you?
My channel is the best spot. I do have a Twitter, and I'm on most of the major booktube discords in our little fantasy community here. I do have a Patreon, which with an exclusive Discord, and where else? I'm on Goodreads. Friend me on Goodreads if you want to check out what I'm reading currently. So,
Nice.
yeah.
It's a lot to keep up with sometimes, isn't it?
It's a lot. Yep.
Yeah.
Mostly I'm on the Discords, Twitter, and YouTube. So those are my three like big ones I kind of cycle between.
Nice.
Instagram is a lost cause at this point.
Oh, I couldn't. I tried. I can't do it.
I'm horrible at Instagram.
Yeah, I don't get it. There's only so many creative ways to take a picture of a book. It's like,
True story.
What am I doing? Like, I'm spending more time setting up this picture than I am reading the damn book.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
Yep.
This isn't for me.
Yep. It's not my platform.
No, not for me. But again, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I know you're busy. So.
This was a pleasure.
And thanks everyone for joining us in the chat. It's always great when everyone's hanging out and interacting. So thank you so much for being a part of our evening and hanging out. So
yeah, thanks guys.
Yeah, we'll see everyone soon, and have a great night, everyone.
Bye.